reason why is that I had not gone live. I might have to bring the fan in here. Don't like this. Closer than that. Every time I do this, I have a problem. Base out the way. That's somewhere safe. Kind of safe. Lift that up. Sorry about this, guys. Just trying to get the web page up. There it is. Okay, I'm live. It's a little bit noisy. I might try to, well, even if I bring the volume up, I'm trying to keep the computer cooled down for a moment. It might begin to cool down. I don't know. Anyway, good evening. This is your gentleman B970 from central London, Friday night. It's a little bit quiet in the West End tonight. I have heard people singing. There has been movement around London on this very kind of historic night. There's been helicopters flying all over the place tonight and going around in circles, security helicopters. And people are a little bit worried this afternoon about all of that, and I completely forgot that, you know, that the Ukrainian leader is in London, or was. A lot of people in that area were in London. Anyway, I can't go into that tonight, guys. Tonight I'm going to be sticking with music, and the title is A Major. And I might go live later on, actually, and then do some talking. So I'm going to try and keep this video kind of short-ish. Okay? Now, obviously, I got the inspiration to do this video from Ted Bass, who is a bass player on the internet. And, you know, I called him out a little bit because, not against it, but he wants to get 100,000 hits, sorry, 100,000 subs. And I was saying, well, how are you going to be able to do that if all that you're showing them on the bass is what everybody else will show them on the bass? There's nothing really unique about what Ted shows you on the bass that other bass players don't show you. So some of the videos that I do, you know, I kind of, you know, bring that up. as a kind of reference point in when I'm thinking about, you know, when I see Ted. And the reason why is because a lot of the stuff that he did was bass lines that I already played. So, you know, I had a bit of skin in the game to at least to say that, well, I've played the bass line, and when I play this bass line, I detune it or whatever it is, or I do this riff. So in this video, what it is it's still the same thing, but I got the idea from Ted. So what it is that you can go on the internet and you can make your own apps. You know, you can make your own sort of like toys, if you like, and or apps, you know, learning tools and stuff like that for bass players and stuff. So I decided to give it a go last night, and at first it was very difficult to find a site that worked. I didn't understand it. I needed to get a site that was AI, where you type in or talk to AI in order to design the software. Anyway, eventually I got the software designed, okay, and but what it was is that when I got to the point of the software was being designed, it told me that I've got to pay in order to be able to publish it and do all these different things with the app to make it kind of professional. And then when you do that, then you've got to be able to mount that app onto a platform. So many people were saying that the platform is called Stripe. So I went to Stripe and looked at the platform, and it didn't look too bad. And anyway, it started to get a little bit too long, because at the end of the day, everything that I was doing meant that I needed to, you know, have more money. Now, I'm not going on the internet and talking about money necessarily on the internet to any of the viewers on there, but what it basically means is that if I want to do it, then I've got to have at least a spare £100. You know, I did it on the spur of the night, and by the time I'd finished, it was like, if I want this to work, I've got to spend £100. So instead of doing that, I can do it live on the internet. It will be the same thing, and you can just watch it, and I will get paid. I'm not asking you to donate or anything in this, but you know, if I get sort of like 100 viewers, well, then I get 5p. You know, if I get 1,000 viewers, then I might get 50p. You know, so if people watch the video, then I'll get paid on the internet. It won't be much, but you know, I get sort of like every view, I get sort of like 0.05% per view. So let's say a lot of people watch the video, then I might get a lot of views. And you know, at that point, then I could still probably make the app. But if I did that, then I've got to get the spare £100 to say, well, I'm going to make the app, spare £100. I looked at the pricing. When you see the standard pricing on Stripe and these places, they're talking about $19.99. I'm not into that. So when I done all the programming, they have this thing called a sandbox where you work it all out. So I decided that if I did do the app, it's going to be £3. And the reason why is that when I was busking once, I met Flea. Like Flea has played this bass. You know Flea from, oh no, I've just got a thing here. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers has played this bass. So what it is that when he played the bass, at first he gave me like £3, or he gave me 30 quid. He gave me £1, and then he gave me £30. So the reason why I said it was £3 is that that's what it should be. It's like in memory of Flea. And £3 wouldn't really hurt anybody for an app. Do you know what I mean? You know, if it was an app. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do one scale, just the one scale, because you know, I had to program the app. I only done it once. It doesn't work properly because you've got to pay for it. That's the reason why they don't work. When you're in free mode, you get it programmed, and then something goes wrong. It says if you want to make it better, then you've got to pay. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of, you know, doing it halfway. So today we're going to be doing A major. just A major. Now, what it is about this is you think, what's all the fuss about one scale? So what it is that when I show you this scale, it's going to be very different than how many people show you how to play A major. In fact, when I first done this video, I told people that this was the very first time that people had ever seen it on the internet. None of the other bass players on the internet have shown you this. What it was is I wanted to do it with Scott's bass lessons, and I didn't know how to send them videos. I wanted to send videos private. I didn't know how to do it. So what I wanted to do was give it all to Scott's Academy, and then they would use it, and then everybody would use it. You go, yeah, this is really, really good. Because if I show you it, you know, no one's going to use it, right? You know what I mean? If I show you something really brilliant on bass, you're not going to do it. But if Scott Bass Lessons does it, then you're going to do it. If Dave 504 does it, what's the thing they've been doing recently? They put a clothes peg on the bass. A clothes peg on the bass. So, you know, so if Dave 504 does it, he'll get 2 million hits and all this kind of stuff. So what you're about to see tonight, no one else on the internet plays this. Don't bother looking. If you see people that do, because there's always the exception, then the chances is that they saw me do this a few years ago, and now they're secretly put it on the internet without me seeing it. So what I'm going to show you tonight, no other bass player has shown you. Okay, I'm going to keep repeating it. No other bass player has shown you this. I'm going to keep repeating it. And this is what I'm trying to say to Ted. You see, when I do a video, I'm not trying to put feathers in my hat. But that's what it was with when you done the video with a pro bass player. That's what we said. I said, what is it that you do? I'm not going into Ted. You know, what is it that you particularly do? So for me, when I see Ted, what I see is a really good bass player. It's got a really good sound. It's got really good feeling. It's got a really good tempo and all of that. But when it's time to start mashing up the bass, then what it is I don't think he's been in that environment enough. If he came to Europe or met European bass players, then he'd get it pretty quickly. Like if he met me, let's say that Ted came to England and he came here, I think Bully the Kid was going to do it. When I was friends with Bully the Kid, he was thinking about coming to London and coming here. So let's say that Ted Bass came to London and came here and we jamming. And it's like, you know, after a couple of days, he would start to get it. I'd show him, he'd start to get it. Because it is easy. But what it is with the Americans is they don't realise how easy it is. It's like the Europeans kind of break the rules that the Americans kind of broke in that sense. So what it is that when it comes to really chopping up the bass, I don't think. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that when Ted shows you something, it's not unique. You know, when he goes on the internet and says, oh, this is a Mixolydian scale, so, or whatever it is, there's loads of other people that show you this. So in this video, we're going to show you something that they have not shown you. And what it is, obviously in this first video, I've got to try and explain how it all happened. Right? So, and what it is, it's to do with YouTube and the development of the internet. When YouTube first started 20 years ago, not that many people used it. Basically what it was is that people used to put videos on YouTube and then tell people that they've got a video. You know you've got geeks. They go, yeah, I've got a video camera and I've been able to put my video camera on the internet. And they show you in the zoo and there's the elephant behind. You know, that's really good. So, but then after a year or so, you had people doing bass and stuff like that. And that's when we began to join in. When we started to come on the internet. Keeping the story kind of short, not going into every detail. So what it was is that at first, and you see it a lot in trash talk, is that there was a lot of this kind of competition stuff on bass that we kind of missed, or what you could say, that was stamping it out. When we came on the internet, they were stamping it all out. Because they were telling people good bass players are coming on the internet. Ex-semi-pro bass players are all arriving. So they stamped out a lot of the kind of competition, but it still kind of went on with bass lines. As you know, you go on the internet and you want to find someone that does a really good bass cover. So during that time, one of the prominent bass players on the internet was a guy called Marlo DK. Even Dave 504 in those days was a bass cover. He used to do bass covers and they weren't that good. He kind of switched off. He tried to do a few, but Dave 504, he gets millions of hits now. But in the beginning, he was like a bass cover guy, and they had this kind of technique and kind of way of mixing the bass. And all of the other guys that were really into bass didn't really like it, so they branched off into this sort of like pop idol bass world and made millions of pounds out of doing it. Good luck to them, but they did that. So what it was with guys like myself and Marlo DK, we were listening to the American bass players, not the European bass players. The European bass players aren't going to teach us anything. It's the American bass players. We want to hear that R&B, we want to hear the sauce, we want to hear the grease, we want to hear the grit, we want to hear the moaning on the tape, we want to hear the breathing in and out. There's another bass player, I think he's from Holland or Europe, and I saw him playing bass and he went breathing in and out because you're running out of oxygen. We want to see all of that, and we did. And when we did, we began to realise that there was something that was happening in the way that they were playing bass. And what it was with someone like myself is that I began to remember that the early bass players did in fact kind of play the bass like James Jameson, and then they switched over to playing slap. Whereas guys like myself, we learned slap from a standard template. There was no template when these guys first started to play slap bass. So what it was I started to do bass lines in this kind of old-fashioned way. And these certain parameters kept coming up. There were these familiar patterns that were always there. And so one day over the weekend, I decided to sit with the bass and work it all out. And I worked it all out, and it ended up as being an entire chart for the bass. The only other bass player that plays this way is Ron Carter. The only other bass player that plays this way is Ron Carter. When I say this, he's the only guy on the internet that talks about it at that level. Okay? So that's what it is. It's not just a major, it's learning a major in a completely different way. And when I learned it, it blew my mind. And so what it was is, for many years, I kept it a secret. The reason why some of my bass lines were sounding good or different is because I was using this technique in some of the bass lines that I was doing. And in some cases, I would detune the bass because it would help me in certain keys to have what you call an advantage in that key, to make that key easy to play rather than difficult to play. It flows through the fingers rather than clumps up the fingers. So for many years, I kept it a secret. Now Marlo DK, he knew. So one day, he done a video and he was with a top European jazz guy, and he wanted to bell it all out, that when he was playing bass, and go to OBS here. So when he was playing bass, he was going like this. He was doing it that way. Just turn up the bass here a little bit. He was doing it like that, and they had the guitarist guy there playing the chord. You know, it was like A sharp diminished and A sharp fifth diminished. He was doing it that way, and I said, yeah, that's a really good way. That's what you call the atypical way of doing it. I said, but this is a different way. Do you want me to show you? He said, no, you keep it, you got it. So what it is with Marlo DK is that instead of doing all of this, he still does it. But what he does, he calls it double open string. So when you see a Marlo DK video, chances are that it will do a bass line and it'll put a double open string in. What is that? So when you play the bass like this, I'll do it really slow. So I'm going to be playing C sharp or D flat. Then I'm going to play open D, and then D fretted, and then D open. So you get this unique feel in the bass. Sorry. Playing open octave D and open D. So you get this really developed feel. And you think, oh, is that the right note? But it doesn't sound, because I'm playing two notes, it sounds like there's another note in there. But it's not. If you did it normal, you go sort of like, that's how it would be normally. When you play it like this, it sounds completely different. So Marlowe DK, rather than him doing this, what I've got, he and I, you know, it's like, you know, 100 years ago, the English and the Scandinavians had a really big beef over the South Pole. So the British guy got there, but he couldn't get back. But the Scandinavian guy got there, and he took his time. So this is not a beef. We understand the mistakes of 100 years ago. So it's like Marlowe DK knows I've got this, and what he does is that every now and again he sneaks in with a kind of bass line. So he sneaks in every now and again, and I'll leave comments like, you know, when he was doing it for a while, I was giving him like, you know, like 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and you know, if you missed out, you could have added another note. So sometimes what it is, you can add it from underneath. And that's what these, that's what I remember. I remember the guys, and they'd be there. That's how they used to play the bass. So when it came to slap, they used to slap the bass that way. So when it comes to stuff like Larry Graham, they didn't play it the way guys played it because they couldn't hear it. So they always used to hear the open G. Sorry. So the older guys, that's how they used to play. So when I met this guy from New York on YouTube, and I used to listen to him playing bass, I started to get it. And the reason why I got it is because I remembered how the guys used to play bass. We never used to take notice because we think, well, you just, you know, whatever. Oh, sorry. You know, why don't you? You know, we'd play it in a kind of simple way. You go, no, it's got to be, listen to it. But the thing was, we didn't listen to it. And this is what it is to Scott's bass lessons. Not everybody was listening to Larry Graham when those tunes came out. The reality of Larry Graham, that his biggest hit in the UK, in the discos, was a slow tune called You're One in a Million. And the biggest hit that Larry Graham had in the UK was a cover of the Detroit Emeralds, Feel the Need in Me. See how I'm walking, see how I'm talking, what is it do for me? Oh, feel the need, how Fonzie's biggest tune was a cover of the Detroit Animals. This is the reality. But anyway, so what it was is I eventually developed a chart. And when I looked at the chart, it was unique. As unique as something like what John Coltrane developed. Because what it does is when you learn to play the bass this way, you understand the bass twice as much as what you did before. Seriously. Because you see both sides of the bass. Because what it is that when you learn this chart, then you realize you can actually play the bass this way. And so when they think about guys like James Jamerson and all of that kind of stuff, this can help you get there without thinking about having to play like James Jamerson. It shows you the template of how you can start working bass lines that way. It doesn't work on everything, but it can work on a lot of stuff. And sometimes when you detune, it works a lot, particularly in the key of, let's say, G minor. So this is really, really good when you play open strings. It's just straight. This is what it is with what we're talking about. Instead of playing the bass up and down, you're playing the bass through up and down this way. The whole object is to go this way through the bass, not this way. When you see people play the bass on the internet and they play scales like this, you're actually what you're doing is you're going along the fretboard. When you play the bass like this, you're actually going that way through the fretboard, and that's what Ron Carter's talking about. So what it is with this A major, that's what it is. Instead of playing the A major like everybody else, you actually play the A major through the bass. And when you do it in the most economical way. When I show people the chart, I always start with A major, because what it is with A major is one of the pure indicators. It's almost perfect. When you look at, chemistry, and they talk about stuff like carbon, carbon, the reason why is because its symmetry is so perfect. So what it is with A major, the symmetry is almost perfect. So it's easy to learn as your very first scale. So what we're going to do now is have a little bit of a tea break, because you know I like my tea breaks, coffee breaks and tea breaks. And we'll try and start going into the first modules of this while we're doing the tea break, just to finish off on stuff like this. So what it is about this A major is that when you play this A major, is that it is the pure harmonic form of A major for the bass. So in other words, when you play this A major, it's the real A major, not the fake A major. And you think, oh, no, that's the way of explaining it. The A major that you see on the internet is not the real A major. This A major that I show you tonight is the real A major for bass. That's why I'm having a tea break. So what it is that when you learn this, what you learn on bass is you learn that each key has a unique harmony. And what it is that you actually physically hear it, see it, and feel it. So in this video, I've got a few ways where you can actually see how this A major is so important to learn as a bass player. And what it is, it's not difficult. Most of the things that I show you on bass are not difficult. You can learn them in 5 minutes. When it's like double slapping. I've got all of my techniques. I double slap the bass, right? Really easy. All you've got to do is slap the bass. It's easy. It's not like doing quads and all of that stuff. It's not like that. No. So all of the techniques that I show you are easy, okay? But even though they're easy, they can be really good for advanced bass players. Because remember, none of the advanced bass players show you this. None of them show you this. No advanced bass player. You go on their site. This is not on their site. This is why I wanted to give it to Scott's bass lessons. And then we had the pandemic. I did say to Scott at the show, I said, you know what? I think something's just about to take place. And it did. Because it was 2019. Like September 2019. So by January 2020, the pandemic hit. And I didn't know how to send the video at that level. So what I'm going to do is go here and then just go back. Now I'm going to show you this site. So what it is that this is actually the site. And so what it is a practice beta copy of my program. I've made this with AI. It works. It does work, but it doesn't, meaning that everything works, but what it is there's no audio. And that's what happens, meaning that, you know, I can add audio, but what it is that it's not adding the audio. It's saying to yourself, you know, have you got that spare £150? And if I did, well, then I can publish the app on Stripe, you know, and sell it for £3 a go. And you could have it on your phone or PC. You could sit there and visually watch it. So because it's going to cost me £100 and it will cost you £3, I can do this for free, basically, you know, where you don't have to pay anything. I'm not asking for any subscription or anything. So this is the actual thing, B970 Funk Theory. I actually do a little right here. Funk Theory, A major, play major scales using classical position of open strings. Follow the chart and listen to the audio notation to learn this scale. Recommended speed 60 BPM. So what it is with the software is it only goes down to 60 BPM. So it means that if you're a real beginner, it's a little bit too fast. Not that fast, but a little bit too fast. So if you see it on the video, you might be able to, still getting we're all dying, guys. You might be able to slow it down on YouTube if it's too fast. And if I go down here, you can actually see the chart. So this is the chart for A major. I'm just going to check on StreamYard very quickly. If you can see it, you should be able to. What I'm going to do is make sure that the screen is really, really good here. I'm going to shrink myself down. You don't really need to see me that much. You might have to shrink this down so you can see me. I'm not getting overlap on OBS at the moment, so that should be enough. So now you can go down, and if I go down, you can see the chart. You should be able to see the chart. Just flicking. Actually, I can do it on here. What am I doing? You can see it on live. Yeah, you can see it. It's a little bit low. Let's see if I can make it higher. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, possibly. Okay. So what it is when you do the AI, they give you this standard kind of chart, and these yellow notes are A major. You go, what? Yeah, that's A major. When you think about guys like Jacko and advanced bass players, this is the simplest route to playing A major. All of these notes on the bass are A major. It's really weird when you look at it this way, but what it is, so when you see A major this way, it's the most economical way of playing A major. I may be wrong, maybe there's another economical way, but judging from what I see, I can't see anything being more economical than playing A major this way. So as you can see, the app shows you where all the notes are, and then will actually show you the sequence of the notes. So what the thing is actually doing: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. See, what it is that it doesn't go slower than this. It's at 60 BPM. So what you're actually seeing now is how you would actually play A major. So with the app, it shows you the notes, and it would actually show you what notes to play the scale. And you can see it's very different than what people show you on the internet. It's not a world's first. I've done these videos before, but it is a world's first in no one has actually shown you this on the internet. You know, when you hear about people like Jaco Pastorius and he looks at A major, I know you've got people that have different charts, but what it is, we're just looking at the basic chart, and that's the basic chart of A major. No one else has shown you this. So we have our bass. And what we might be able to do, I don't know, but anyway, I can play at this speed. I've just got to catch it. Now what I've also done today, guys, because sometimes that might be a bit confusing, I've also got Fruity Loops set up just to play the notes on the keyboard. And the reason why is that there will be other musicians like saxophone players, keyboard players that might want to hear the sequence. So I'm going to play the sequence here so you can hear it on this. Now, I go to the, so with the app it would probably work like this, yeah? So just got to get right. So the app would work like this. Obviously the app hasn't got any audio, so I created audio for it. So what it is for people that might be a little bit confused with a chart is that, let me just stop the machine sequencer, is that these notes over here, they're open strings. That's E, and these are the notes here. So if you want to play A major really, really quickly, is A major. So when you think about people like Jaco, well, I can't play like Jaco. This is a step to at least understanding some of the logic. It's not being able to play like Jaco. Yeah, I get that. Everybody gets that. It's having that hearing or understanding, vision, if you like, of understanding the is A major. Let's see if we can get a jam going. Okay. Oh no, we don't need to do that. Yes, we do. We can do that so you can see the sequencer going in A major. You can play this. Actually, we're going to put it in time. So we get this really kind of like, keep thinking of the music section on there. So you get this really kind of like weird kind of tonality when you just follow. And when you play this way, because people talk about the perfect fifth, the D doesn't sound right. When you play it this way, it doesn't sound like it's fitted. It's like very strong. It's an A major. It's really powerful when they talk about it being the perfect fifth. When you play the bass this way, you find that D, even though it's a perfect fifth, it's out. It's out of the scale. It's too strong to be in the scale, but it's the note. It's like when you jam it, you think it doesn't sound like A major. And the D makes it sound even less like A major, but they are the notes. So we know that D is, oh, so actually it's not the perfect fifth, it's the perfect fourth. So the perfect fourth in A major is very, very powerful. Because this is what it is about learning the bass this way. When you learn the bass this way, you can't use this pattern and shift it down the fretboard to play B major. The next scale is completely different. Each scale is a completely different harmonic pattern. Let's look at Fruity Loops. Try and, I don't know whether we can shrink it a little bit. Shrink it, not too much. If we stretch this, it shrinks down a bit. Look at the patterns. This is A major. Normally, when you play A major, you just play one scale after the other. You're going to play. You play. You play up. So if you saw the major scale, it's going up. But what you can see here, it's going all over the place. But one here going up, then going down, then going up, then going down, then going up, then going down. And these are the notes. Normally they just go up, but they're not. There's intervals, and there's some intervals that stand out. These intervals are exactly the same. And these intervals are just semitones. And this interval then becomes a strange interval, which is like a semitone. And it is a semitone. So you've got two semitones, and then you've got two intervals. But there's 7 notes. So you've got two intervals, a semitone, and a semitone back to here. So the first interval is that's the first interval. And the second interval is, which is exactly the same. And you've got a semitone here, and you've got a semitone here. So you've got two semitones, and then two intervals. So no one shows you to play A major this way on the internet. No one. Yannick Gawinska? No. Scott's Bass Lessons? No. Adam Neely? No. No one shows you to play the bass this way on the internet. I might be wrong, but if there are videos on the internet, then there could be a chance that they saw me do this years ago and then they put it on the internet and now you see that video. But as I said, I kept it secret for years. This was my secret weapon against the other bass players, because it meant that when I listened to something like A major, let's match this A major to this A major. So what it is that note's in the wrong place, these notes are in the right place, that note's in the wrong place, and that note is in the wrong place. So you've got 1, 2, 3 notes are in the wrong place. And this is what it is when you learn the chart, because each scale will be uniquely different. If I try to move this up, you know, let's say that I copy and paste this. Let's say I do something like this and copy and paste it and then move it up and say, okay, well, this is B major. It won't work on bass. Each scale has to be completely different. Because they're completely different, then each scale has a completely different harmony. And this is what some of these bass players, that's what I'm trying to say to Ted. That's what it is. If something's in G minor, for example, Forget-Me-Nots, yeah? Forget-Me-Nots. It just fits. It just fits because it's in G minor. Because it's in G minor, and you use the G minor scale, you hear all these little bits fit into the open key. So when it comes to A major, and this is the other thing that starts happening. Once you start learning this, it's like when you play the bass, it's like you start blowing the bass in a different way. So when you start doing the slaps, then you can start getting into these mad areas. So you get this kind of feeling in the bass. When Ted does it, it's going to be in the college thing. Now, That's what it does. No one on the internet has shown you this, guys. Imagine all the other guys laughing, the other, like, there's no videos on the internet that show you how to play the bass this way. There are no videos on the internet that show you. Victor Woden, nope, not even Victor Woden shows you how to play the bass this way. Nobody shows you how to play this bass this way. So what I tell people, and I knew it all along because Ron Carter did come on the internet, he was talking about it. And I did say it to Milo DK, because you would expect someone like me to say, I invented this. I knew that when the explosion, you know, when people look back at it, the explosion of YouTube took place and the parade of bass players that were galloping through and doing bass covers, and you've got people like myself and Milo DK following these few American guys through the desert, and then someone like myself stopping and realizing. So when I go through the sand, I realize that what I have discovered, I've discovered it. I never invented it. I know that this is something that has been rediscovered. So what it is when you learn to play this scale, then you really know how to play bass. Without this scale, then you do not know how to play bass. I'm sorry, guys, because no one else has shown you this. When you play A major this way, you're hearing the full tonic of the bass. When you play A major like there's no harmony. It's flat. It's note after note after note that is slowly going up the stairs. When you play the A major, the real A major, you play, then you play high. So you've already got this harmony. Can you hear the whole bass is resonating? So when you play this, the whole bass, the real organs of the bass begin to resonate when you play the bass this way. And that's what it is with guys like James Jameson and those kind of guys. I'm not saying it's true, but in my analysis of it, when people talk, that's what I'm trying to say. Instead of learning how to play like James Jameson, you see the structure of how that can take place. And the structure is that when you play the bass this way, the harmony is so much stronger than when you play the bass this way. It's flat. It's flat. I'm in the wrong key. It's flat. And the reason why is because this knowledge is from the guitar. The reason why you're playing the bass this way is because the bass fretboard is fretted. When they had the old double bass, you couldn't rely on the fretboard to find the notes. And so you've got to find another way of making sure you're in key. So one of the ways you can do that is just playing in one area. You don't move. Then you can move. So what it does, it changes the way that you blow the bass. And what I tell people, it's like Ornette Coleman. It's not like Charlie Parker. Obviously, guys like Jacko got up to Charlie Parker's level. So this is slightly down from that. And it's so important to know this, because when you're trying to learn bass lines or you're looking at structures, right? When you've got this scale, then you realise, well, hang about. When I play A major, normally it's that note that is second. So there might be a bass line, and then you realise it's that. And you do it really quickly, and it's just on the hi-hat, or just on the snare, or just on the bass drum, and that's the killer note. That becomes the killer slap note sometimes. That's when it becomes, you know, because when you see guys like Bully the Kid and the other guys and they go on the internet and they start getting on the bass, it's always based on the kind of, on a blues, sort of like gospel blues hit. But when you think about guys like Marcus Miller and those guys, they play what you call the big city slap sound. And that's how you start getting it. Because it's the same thing, but all you're doing is just swapping it all upside down. You're playing, it sounds like you're playing the same thing, and when you do that and you listen to other bass lines, then sometimes you want to do it in other bass lines as well, just to see whether it will work. And sometimes it does with amazing effect, and then you upload your bass line and people go wow, and then no one wants to play it that way. You get hundreds of bass players drinking coffee at that bit, like when they done it in Jamiroquai. And at that bit where you've done the really, really unbelievable sound, they go, and then start playing the bass again, all that kind of stuff. So learning this chart, you can see it here, and if I'm not mistaken, I think there was another mode where you could actually see it as well. Let me see. There were 3 modes, and that's maybe if I'd done this as a development, I would have all of these different ways that you can actually, I think it's edit, you might see it this way as well. I'm not saying that, I'm not sure, but we'll have a look. So if I did this as an app, obviously I'd show you it in, no, it's not showing you. So what it was is there was another sort of like, so what it would be if I'd done this as an app, I'd have it like this, and I'd have it in a different kind of diagram, so you can actually see it in different ways. And that way you can see, you know, it's like this, like, relationship here on the fretboard, it's perfect. But when you look at it on, and when you look at it on here, it's perfect as well. Like the proportions, you know, this scaling of A to the second note. Where normally people, when they do it like this. That's the normal one they do. They don't think that way. There again. It would have to be there. So this is the other thing. I met a guy the other day and I said, you know, I really followed this. So yeah, I could do that. But the rules are telling me that you can't do that. You have to look at something else. The reason why, because I want everything just to be in a straight line. So if I go here, it's got to be. You know, and again. So it makes you think when you do your slaps. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's what it was with Ted all along. I kept saying to Ted, when you play the bass that way, that's how they play it at college. When you play the bass this way, then you're playing it like Marcus Miller. Because you're going into that big city sound. That's what it is. The guys get, we all do, we all get nervous. You play the bass and you get nervous. We all get nervous. So when you've got to now work out a bass line, and get something where it's going to work, where you're going to get something different. Bass is singing in the right way. It's the right phrasing. It's the big city jazz phrasing. It sounds all complicated, and all it is, I'm just taking it from just different combinations. Mostly, there's only 7 notes. So you've only got a certain amount of combinations you can get from those 7 notes, right? So it is limited, but it's not limited in terms of the harmony, the feel that you get when you play the bass this way. And I remember in the 70s, I'm not going to call the guys out, and they're going, no, they're kind of going, that's where they were going. Remember, there were no colleges, there's no experts, there's no, oh, this is the best way you slap the bass. Every bass line in the early 70s was completely experimental. Some bass lines became cliche experimental, but they were completely jazz experimental. When they played them in some cases in this really kind of, really in a way that modern bass players sometimes, especially because remember they're playing vintage stuff. It's not like they're playing some modern. Oh yeah. They're not doing that. They're playing a really, really simple bass line somewhere. So they used to play them, and I remember it. That's what it was. When I started to see how the American guy was playing, because at first you didn't see him, and then he showed you, he was really going inside the bass. Everything was inside. So I was trying to get inside and I couldn't do it, but I realized I had to start from somewhere. When I did go inside, and I realized that if you're inside in a certain key, so that's how they kind of play. That's how the old bass players played. I'm not saying it's exact, it's my memory of it. So when I met the American bass player, I think his name was in 2010, something like that, and it clicked. Because I remembered that it just didn't hit me, and I'm going, cool, so if I'm going to get on with the bass and do more. Because I used to always talk about, yeah, when we were younger, we were used to how the guys used to play, and I went, well, wait a minute, when they were really doing that, a lot of that stuff was being pulled off of them. Even stuff like level 242, when guys talk about it, and they go, you play it like that. You don't have to play it like that, you can play it like that. the sort of scene was run for cover. You won't be able to hear none of that unless you learn this. You won't understand it. You won't realise it's there. What it is that when you learn this, then you see it, you hear it, you realise. Because what it does, it forces you to, what it is, you don't deviate. If the note is there, the next note is there. The next note is there. And the next note is there. And the next note is there. And the next note is there. So obviously, if the groove changes and the harmony changes, you change. But when you do the lick, you try to do it according to how the phrasing is. And then sometimes, all out of nowhere, you go like that, and you go, what? And all of a sudden, you've got this really creamy part at the end of the bar. Because normally that's where it is, it's where you change. What is that? It's the open string. This tells you when you're in tune sometimes. And that's how I got into double slapping. It was what you call a damp note. And I made a mistake and I went like that. Slapping technique. What it is with my slapping technique, it's easy to learn. All the other guys, when they show you slapping techniques, it's too difficult. You can't do it. Look, this is easy. Do it any way you want. Sometimes there's a bass line where it fits so perfectly, right, that if you land it, you can't stop playing the bass line. There's certain bass lines, when I play the bass line, I can go like that, and it really sounds good. I can't stop playing because it feels so good, because it's so easy to do. What it is, it's manageable where you can put that, you can because you can control it so easy, you know. I think I did it in Chaka Khan, you know. Something in there, it just really works well. I've done it in a few tunes. The best one for me is Mutual Attraction by Change. If I detune the bass and get it right, and I do the double slapping, it's just like, what? Because the bass actually sounds like it joins in with the synth. It's like, you know, like a Juki stick, you can get it to go just right, just like a Juki stick. So imagine, you know, going back into the 80s or whatever, or you're with Change and you're out there, you're really fit, and you're playing the bass line, you're going like that. You're going, wow, you're going, yeah, he's really landing that. That's his own technique. So what it is with this A major, I'm going to try and keep it short. It's not going to be one of these extended videos. Is we go back to the go back to here. So what it is when you play A major, it's uncannily really easy to look at. This is it. When you do the sequence, actually I've got to go back. So I'll go back because I'm in play mode. I've got to go into publish mode or jamming mode. This is it. No, still got to go back. So as you can see, the notes here are very basic. You don't really see people show you A major this way and go, well, it doesn't look like A major. But then the app, it plays. It's going to play, it's not going to play. You have to press something. Right, no, go back. I think that will work it now. That's it. So what it is, there's two folds. If I get a chance to reprogram it, I'll make it go a lot slower. So now you can actually see the sequence. Right. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. The ones over here are open strings. And it's the full harmony of A major. That's what it is. And what it is as well, when I've done the writing to this, I'll just go back to, actually I'll go back to live, see if anyone's talking. Sorry, I didn't see you, Jeff. Didn't see you, Jeff. Didn't see you, man. Didn't see you. I can type. Can type. Thanks, Jeff, man, for coming in. So this video won't be long. I might go live later. I know it's 2 o'clock now, but in London, but I might go live later on. But yeah, so I'm doing this video, and just lost my track in here for Jeff. So what it is that you can see the scales, and when you play it, you actually see the sequence. And what it is that when you play the bass this way, and anybody can do it, you don't have to be an advanced bass player. You can really feel the harmony of A major. So after you do it, you start doing it for a while. So that's the general, you know, and you know, like church bells when someone gets married. So it's got that where it goes high and low. Obviously, they're not the chromatic notes that go down in the actual church bells, where they may be more of a chordal with the many bells that they have in the sequence. But it's the same thing. When you play the bass this way, you actually hear the bass vibrating the right way. It means you've got the right, you know, like when you really want to play an A, I want to really play A major really good, then you can get it. Because you know that if it's A major, then you're going to have to play the G sharp. And it's below the A. Because it's A major. If it's A minor, then it's here. And then you've now got a tune where you can just swing through those. This is what it teaches you. When you see, not going against Paul Turner, I saw Paul Turner on the internet the other day. I'm not going against Paul Turner, but I'm just saying, like guys like Paul Turner and Jamiroquai phones up He goes, I just come back from Amsterdam. Down the studio. And they go down the studio and everybody's excited. And then when they do the jam, then they slip into the college flapjack. I'm not saying Paul Turner does that. I'm just saying that that's what it is. And this, understanding this, right, can help you get out of that situation. It can help you where you've got a part of the bass line where you want to get something going. And you know, it's in A major. I'm not saying that every tune is A major, but there might be a bit in A major. Now you've got this, the sequence, and hearing it, and it's jamming through it, and knowing, because you don't have to play A major. All you have to do is play a sequence of these notes. You're under, sorry man, you know, I don't know much about Jaco. You go, well, it's not knowing about Jaco, it's understanding, it's just understanding. You go, no man, that's too much for me. But the most important thing when I'm playing it, what you can hear, is the way that I'm playing it. It's almost like bebop. Feel me? And the reason why is because that's what happens. When you play the bass this way, and obviously you see other guys encouraging you to play the bass this way, all you're hearing kind of goes bebopish. All the riffs are kind of bebopish. And what does that mean? That means that if you create a bass line, there's a possibility that you can create that big city bass line like Marcus Miller and those guys. Not the quintessential sort of Midwest. Not against it, because obviously it's brilliant. You know, you get your funky Midwest kind of like bass lines. But obviously when you listen to not Bernard Edwards, when you listen to Bernard Wright and those kind of guys in the early 80s, Tom Brown and all those kind of guys, you know, they do play that kind of stuff, but when you hear their bass lines, then their bass lines have got that huge, big city, Manhattan, dangerous feel to it. So one of the reasons of that is that the bass lines are entrenched in its history of bebop and groove and bebop and jazz. And this is why I'm showing the chart. I'm only showing you this one key tonight. I'm going to show you one key every night, sort of way. Sounds really weird. So I'm going to show you one scale every night, you know, or every hour, so you can see this, absorb it, and then a couple of days later. But I always show people A major first, because it's the easiest one to understand. So we're going to go through it one more time, and what I'll do is I'll come back live. I might come back live tomorrow. You know, I'm just going to check the internet, just check my page, see the guys in there. You know, all right, I didn't put can type. I'll put can typed. Like, I thought I typed that ages ago. Anyway, so so what it is, I'm just going to go through it one more time. Just have a cigarette break. So this is the A major scale, and what it is, you could argue it's the true A major scale for bass. It's the true harmony of A major on bass. If you play A major on another instrument, the harmony will be in a different voicing. The voicing that you hear in this is the original, as deep, because that's what it is with bass. It's supposed to be deep and rich sounding as you can get, in terms of it being the most economical way of playing. There's no movement in the left hand. You don't want to be moving up and down the fretboard. You want to go across the fretboard from the E string to the G string, not from the 10th fret to the 11th fret or the 5th fret to the 17th fret. We don't want to do that. We want to go from string to string, just like Ron Carr. So when you play the bass this way, you start with the open A major, you go to the chart, then you go to B up here, this gives us that harmony, then you go to C sharp, which is not a very strong harmony, but we can still get that harmony here. But you know, Jacko, it's not, okay, we can't play like Jacko, but this. You know, you could, you know, I'm not saying, you know, anyway, so we're up to here. Then you've got E, D. This features a lot on bass. So when you learn this, you'll find that this note, they match. They're always matching. Yeah. Always matching. And finally, G sharp. It's an A. And it's underneath A. So what is that? Well, you can play both. So you can play both. You've got a little jam done. It means you can play bass both ways. This is what it is. When you learn this, it means you can learn to play bass both ways. Someone shows you a bass line and you may decide to play it in open string. Or you may decide to play it like everybody else. Or you may decide to mix it up. Doesn't mean to say you have to play it all like this. You can do small little, tiny little bit. You might decide to play. Because it's telling you all A major, no other notes. There's a little bit where I might, and it's just like a little bit of like, you know. But the basic notes are these basic notes. And so when you look at it again on Fruity Loops, you can see the pattern is completely different than just going from one note up. There's all this thing that's actually happening. Now again, this is only one position. When you think of people like Victor Bailey and those guys when they went to Berkeley and they went to colleges, this is what I was saying to Scott if they have a team. And they can work out all of these sequences using this formula to create more sequences across the fretboard, because that would only be the first one, which is here. So if B is here, then there might be one here. And before you know it, you're starting to Jacko out. Not brilliantly, it's the whole idea that you can get those. Okay, guys. So the reason why I'm not doing it too long is so people can watch the video. You know, obviously they can rewind it and watch it if they've got any questions. If you've got any questions, I can always go into the chat and explain it. And if it doesn't sound right or I've made a great big blunder, then I can do the video again, guys. So you can, you know, I'm really sorry, but I've got a bum note in this video. Some guy came in and told me that it's actually B flat, not B or something. That could happen. So that's what it is, guys. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. I will be live again. Obviously, I'm going to the next will be A sharp. So the one after this will be A sharp. I could do it a different way where I actually show you the whole notes. So I can start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then do the flat notes. I could do it that way. So I'll think about that. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm keeping the video short because obviously monetization. This video that I'm showing you now, just going onto the live page, is that it will be monetized. You know, I will get money for this, just for this video. I will get money. So I've got 13 views. So that means I've made something like hold on. Hold on. Oh. 10 times, 10 times, 10 times, 100, that's 10p. So the video, according to how the stats are, I've made 1.5p, where if I made the app, I would have had to spend well over £100. I'm not asking for donations in this video, you know, but, you know, I'm not asking for video donations, but I'm not asking for that in that sense. All I'm saying is that, you know, if people watch the video, then, you know, I've made money. So if I get like 26 hits, then I've made 2p. I know it's not a lot, but it's really, really good fun, kind of earning pin money. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I'm not dependent on it. You know what I mean? But it would be really interesting. Right, so I'm going to check the time, 1 minute 20. Okay, guys, let me go back to go here. Just go like that. Okay, guys, thanks.